Hello and welcome to the inside of my van. Thank you very much to all of you who sent me wishes when I was ill. Lots and lots of them, and I'm very grateful for that. I am now feeling much better, although I'm not going to be doing any assault courses or anything of that nature. Today I'm going to continue to stay in bed. I'm aware that whatever I had could return. Now, whatever I had, I don't know what it was. I was pretty certain it wasn't coronavirus. But having said that, there were 3 medical professionals who put comments and told me that I did have the symptoms of it, and that not having breathing problems was not a guarantee of not having the disease. So anyway, symptoms I had was an awful headache, weakness at a level I don't think I've ever actually experienced before. Even when I had a bad back, I knew that, for example, my arms, okay, I couldn't really walk very well, but one stage couldn't even walk at all. But my arms, everything sort of felt normal. Whereas this, the weakness was really bad. I mean, it was an effort to get my clothes off. And the other symptoms, the headache, which was really bad. I had a fever, although the fever wasn't very high. I had questions asking me about my heartbeat. I forgot that on the telephone. There is in fact a way of measuring your heartbeat. I'm just measuring my heartbeat now. It's 59. Resting heartbeat yesterday 76, and I think that's reasonably normal. Okay, 76 is a bit on the high side for resting heartbeat. I think for somebody sort of my athletic condition, or maybe not for my age. And the pain in my bones, which was like when you're sort of growing up, that you complain, you got the pains. I remember saying the doctor, maybe it was my mother, I can't remember who it was, or they're growing pains. It was like these growing pains that had what they were called. I don't think that's the proper word, that's the reason for them. But the pain, but it was more intense than that, or at least as I seem to recall the growing pains being. It was really don't really know quite how to describe it. In London, in January, 4 months ago, I had an injection for the flu, and therefore I was thinking, oh, I'm glad I had that. So just in case, at the time I couldn't see the point. Oh, it doesn't matter, I'll do it anyway. It'll take a few minutes and it'll be over. Although I couldn't really see the point of doing a flu jab in January. Then I was really grateful happy, I should say, that I had done it, because the traveling around, and then if you got the flu, you might think it's coronavirus or something. And so I was glad I had it. But that was in my mind. I thought, well, of course, the flu jab they give you is just a guess, so I might have got some flu or something, which wasn't the same as the normal flu. Now, somebody else put a comment that I have to be very aware of the rebound, that I might feel better for a while and then it just collapses and gets much worse. Of the literally tens of thousands of comments I must have received on this YouTube channel since I started it, that is the one which I've taken most seriously and worried about the most. I'm aware that things could get worse, so I'm just going to stay in bed where I am right now until things do get better properly. Now, 1 or 2 things I've learned actually during this time. Now, I spent the past 4 days now, 5 days, largely asleep. That was the number 1 thing I was doing. When I wasn't asleep, I got through 3 audiobooks, although most of the audiobooks I slept through. First one was a book the physical book I've read maybe 5 times, and the audiobook, I think it's now the 5th time, was the Albert Speer's Inside the Third Reich. I also listened to another book called The German War by Nicholas, I've forgotten his surname now. He's a history, I've forgotten his surname, how embarrassing. He's a history lecturer at Oxford. He was born in 1962 in Melbourne, Australia, and I've forgotten his surname. Anyway, I read his book, I listened to it, and I got halfway through Robert Conquest's book on the Great Terror. And so I had that on, and I was sort of half watching films as well, but I'd go to sleep during them, and so I was watching things about rescuing puppies and chess games, and somebody's YouTube channel who lives in India. And so that was it, really. So that was what I was sort of doing. Oh, and reading things as well on the internet. I sort of looked up, tried to find documents on people like Fritz Todt, who was the German armaments minister before Albert Speer during the Nazi period. Anyway, that's the sort of thing that interests me. Now, one thing I learned was this, is that after I put the film up on Sunday, and I got about 6,000 people or something saw it, but people will be ringing me. Now, lots of people sent messages, right? So that was nice. I mean, an email. So one email, I got one line: "Dear Alan, I really hope you get better much quicker." Then that was great. And sorry, I cannot respond to everybody, otherwise I'll be spending ages doing it. But thank you very much, everybody. So please take this as my response. But people sort of ringing you up. Now, I realise that anybody who rings you up is doing it out of the goodness of their heart. And certainly a friend of mine who ended up in hospital after a really nasty accident a few weeks ago, I was sort of ringing her up every day, and she said to me, look, ring me up, I'll ring you next week sometime. So, okay, right. Now I realise what the problem was. People will be ringing me up and waking me up. So at the time I thought I should be asleep, people are waking me up, and that's probably not doing my recovery any good at all. So if somebody's ill, I've now learned, just send them a message, and don't ring them up and don't wake them up, because in fact, although you do mean well, but you're probably actually hindering their recovery. I also mean, in my situation, it may even seem worse because I was sort of living in a van by myself. But don't worry, I do know people around here. Now, I didn't contact a doctor. Why didn't I contact a doctor? I came to the conclusion that I'd got myself in this situation, and I didn't really want to take, if I had got the disease, well, okay, well, I'm isolated in this van, and therefore I need to see it through isolated by myself. I didn't want to put anybody else's life or whatever at risk, or health at risk. And I do appreciate, of course, I have paid into the national health system. I do therefore deserve to benefit from it, but this is different circumstances, and therefore that's why I didn't do it. I just really did not want to put anyone else's at risk. That's how I see it. But anyway, I feel as though I'm better now, so I will actually go and do, though, a test at a private clinic in Lublin. There's a place there where you pay 100 zloty, which is about 23 euros, something like that, and they will give you a test over the counter, which apparently you can tell very quickly, according to the website, if you are susceptible to the disease or not. Now, one thing that's always also been on my mind is what's called asymptomatic. That is to say, when you don't have any of the symptoms of the disease, but you're carrying it. And a very interesting case, if with the cruise ship, the Diamond Princess, I think it was called, and on that ship, when they did the tests, they found that 46% of those that tested positive for coronavirus didn't actually have any symptoms whatsoever. So that was in my mind. Also, the fear of passing this on to someone else was really quite great. I think this happened because 4 years ago, I was staying with my mother, and I got up 6 o'clock in the morning on the 11th of November 2016. I found my mother sitting, she'd been up all night because the disease, or whatever it was, the cold that I'd had a couple of days earlier, I had passed on to her, and I felt very guilty about that. So that's my experience. So I'm now coming back to normal, and I shall try and be at the premieres. As from now, they will continue at the normal time at 20:15 UK time, 21:15 Central European time, and certainly feel a lot better. So thank you very much, and all the best for now.